Hello, we are Group 12 presenting our study titled The Impact of Economic Growth Towards CO₂ Emission in Malaysia from 1990 to 2024. Our background is that CO₂ emission increase when electricity is generated, factories operate and transport expand, and Malaysia has experienced long-run economic growth since 1990. At the same time, Malaysia emission trends also rose over the years with temporary drops during major shocks like the Asian financial crisis and COVID-19, before rebounding when economic activities recovered. This motivates us to test whether Malaysia show a clear growth-emission relationship and whether the patterns support the Environmental Kuznets Curve idea.
Hello, my name is Nurul Fafatina binti Asmadi. So today I will present about the problem statement. The problem is that Malaysia rapid economic expansion since 1990 happened alongside high energy-related CO₂ emissions. And this matters because climate risks like floods and heat create real cost to development and competitiveness. Malaysia also has climate commitments, including reducing emissions intensity, but its energy system still depends heavily on fossil fuels. So, there is a policy tension, which is Malaysia wants to keep growing, but emissions must be managed more effectively. That is why we study the period 1990 to 2024 to provide evidence on how strongly CO₂ respond to economic growth, including other key drivers like populations and technology. That's all from me. Thank you.
So next, I'm going to continue with research objective. My name is Nulaila Sari and my metric number is BB23110654. So our main objective is to determine the extent to which economic growth contributes to carbon dioxide emission in Malaysia from 1990 to 2024. We also have three specific objectives, which firstly, to identify whether GDP per capita influence carbon dioxide emission. Second, to examine whether population growth affects carbon dioxide emission. And then thirdly, to evaluate whether technology impacts carbon dioxide emission. Where technology is proxied mainly by energy density, this objective guides our analysis and hypothesis testing.
Hello, my name is Ryan. Today I will explain about the research framework. Our research framework combines EKC and STIRPAT. EKC such as emission may rise at earlier development stage, but after a certain income level, emission can slow down or decline, forming an inverted U. STIRPAT supports the idea that emissions are influenced by population, affluence, and technology. So our empirical model is log linear, which are in CO₂, which is the carbon dioxide, in GDP, also GDP squared 2, in population and in technology. This allows us to test the EKC turning point effect while controlling for population scale and technology efficiency. That's all.
Now for our result and discussion. Using OLS for Malaysia from 1990 to 2024, the model fits well with R² about 0.969 and the overall regression is significant. GDP per capita has a positive and significant effect on CO₂ emission, meaning growth increase emission, but the GDP square term is negative and significant, supporting the Environmental Kuznets Curve on inverted U pattern. Population is also positive and significant, showing that population growth raises the emissions. However, our technology proxy is not significant, so we do not find strong evidence that technology reduces emissions in this model. Overall, CO₂ in Malaysia is mainly driven by economic growth and population.
A very good day to Doctor and my fellow friends. My name is Narelani Natasha and my number matrix is BB2311073 and now I'll be presenting about the recommendations. So based on our findings, we recommend 4 key actions, which is the first one is to accelerate renewable energy expansions to reduce the carbon intensity of growth. The second one is to strengthen energy efficiency, policies and industrial upgrading since technology effects were not significant in our model. The third one is to improve low carbon transport and sustainable urban planning because population's growth increases emissions through mobility and city demand. And the last one is to enhance environmental governance and carbon management instruments to ensure emissions reductions happens earlier and more effectively. So in conclusion, Malaysia shows a clear growth emissions linked with EKC evidence, but cleaner growth won't happen automatically without stronger structural norms. That's all from us. Thank you.